Among the most important rooms in a Metroidvania's design are the ones that connect two areas together. These rooms often allow the designer to carefully control access to certain parts of the map based on what items the player has collected. Even if a player could find a way to glitch or brute force their way through, the barrier's mere existence serves as a reminder to them that, hey, they should probably turn back and look for an important item. These barriers can serve multiple gameplay purposes, including restricting a player from accessing a new area or trapping them in a subsection of the map to narrow the scope of where they have to look for said item. Designing helpful barriers becomes considerably more difficult when part of a game is non-linear. Despite its reputation for having an open map, Super Metroid's intended progression is quite linear. It's just that the game's built-in advanced techniques make this progression easy to break on repeat playthroughs. Some ROM hacks of Super Metroid take a much different approach, however. Many designed under the assumption that players already know techniques such as wall jumping. Others restrict these abilities to make sequence breaking more difficult. While many players enjoy this absolute freedom, issues arise when their progression is locked behind one single item and they have to scour the entire map to find it. In my own hack, I wanted to take a more segmented approach to this non-linearity. For example, after the player obtains the super missiles, the path splits. They can either trek north to find the ice beam or south to find the speed booster. Both items are required to access power bombs. Players can also optionally backtrack through Green Brinstar to find the Spazer. My original map design had multiple shortcuts between Red and Green Brinstar, but I locked all of them behind power bombs to try to keep players in the area until they found all of the major items. Problems arose, however, when trying to factor in the Spazer's location. To obtain Spazer before Kraid, players would have to backtrack all the way to Criteria and loop back through all of Green Brinstar before reaching one of the two green doors blocking the entrances to Pink Brinstar, where Spazer is. A lengthy detour many players likely would not take. I want most players to find Spazer before entering Kraid's lair so that I can balance the difficulty around it. But if most players don't, they'll think of it as an unfair difficulty spike. The solution? Turn one of the power bomb barriers into a soft ice beam barrier. The barrier in question is located quite close to the ice beam, so it can serve as a direct indicator to the player that they should turn back and keep looking for it. But how should I design a room like this? Requiring ice beam is not an easy task when players have easy access to wall jumping. The solution? Boyons in the Morph Ball passage. Players will have to freeze them to roll across the gap without falling. While this might make an odd room layout, it gets the job done, creating a memorable experience in the process. While players could bypass this puzzle by damage boosting across the gap, this doesn't really get them much. They get the shortcut to Spazer, but they've actively gone further away from the intended progression. The other aspects of the room allow it to serve multiple design purposes throughout the game. When players first reach the room from the right, they're blocked by a super missile door, preventing them from accessing Red Brinstar early. Before they find the ice beam, it encourages them to keep looking in the near vicinity, and after they find it, it provides a straight shot to Pink Brinstar, a new area for them to explore and find Spazer in. Finally, I left the power bomb blocks in so that players can bypass the ice beam puzzle entirely after beating Kraid, smoothing their travel experience in the late game. All in all, while this may only be the design of a single room, it cascades throughout the entire area to guide, and hopefully improve, the experience of my players.